this show would not be complete for me if we did not have a full length Mets segment. There's just so much to break down with this team. So many frustrating things, so many great things. I don't know where to start. Maybe the first thing to start with is the fact that despite all the injuries, despite the fact that there are guys on this team that were not here 2 weeks ago, despite the fact that you had to rely on guys like John Sweet Fargus and Cameron Maybin, and then they end up going away. And then you got to rely on guys like Brendan McKinney, who I really enjoy. And then, Brandon Drury, who should be gone soon. They're still in first place, and they have a 4-game lead in the East. It's the largest division lead in baseball, again, it's only early June, but it'll help when the Mets have their June swoon, as Tank would say, and, lose all these games. But Andrew, your thoughts on this early success despite the injuries?
Yeah, I think this seems so fun to watch. They're just even and the Mets have had a ton of injuries in the past, and these guys like the Brandon McKinneys, the Mason Williams, the Khalil Lees, or whoever you want to bring up, because I feel like this, or basically the half of our team's the Syracuse Mets right now, especially this lineup. But they kind of come up in big situations. Like, they may only have a 200 average or a 170 average, but if the Mets need a hit, these guys are coming through, or they need a fly ball or whatever. And even Brandon McKinney, I know the Mets lost the game, but he had the triple to bring in the run. And I feel like these guys, they're not as bad as maybe their numbers say. Even a guy like Jonathan VR, who was, obviously is injured right now, and we'll see kind of how that plays out with, his injury, and hopefully come back soon. But his stat line isn't the best, but you just feel his impact. If it's not with the bat, it's with defense. They do the little things right, which I love so much. The Mets never do the little things right. So to see this team do the little things right is great. They play good defense. Lindor is finally over 200 too, which is,
it's kind of sad when you really analyze that statement, though. You're like, oh, he's over 200, but that's not really something we should be celebrating. But yeah, go ahead.
No, but you kind of have to, I think, right now. I think he'll get hot, but that's just my opinion. James McCann's coming through. I almost said Brian McCann, but James McCann's coming through, I think, as well. He's starting to catch hot. And again, I think this rotation will continue to carry this Mets team until, the rest of their hitters come back. Hopefully they can do that. I think this rotation's solid, I'd say, especially when, you have DeGrom, who's going to basically give you a very good chance to win every fifth day. The bullpen, I think, has been just so solid, and that's probably the reason why they've been, successful here. And I think they've been winning division games, which, you could talk about the NL East not being, up to snuff and not being the best division, but the Mets have when they went on their hot streaks, it's usually against the Braves, Marlins, whoever it may be, Phillies. And I think that's important. I know the Padres, who lost the first 2 games here, but Padres are a great team. And, as long as you're fighting with them and hopefully end up, winning a few games at the end of the series, I kind of like where this Mets team is. And they just got to stay above water until, everything comes and the reinforcement comes along with, the rest of their lineup and the pitching as well.
Well, first things first, I realized I called Billy McKinney Brendan McKinney, and I like to apologize to our amazing right fielder. But like you said, baseball is a game of streaks. The way it works is you play 500 ball most of the year, and then every once in a while go on a run, win 5, 10, 15 games in a row, some crazy number. Which is what the Mets have been doing and which they should continue to do. And like you said, with the division's weak, but that's to their advantage. The Mets have one of the weakest strength of schedules leading up to the All-Star break. Yeah. And I think after the All-Star break as well. I could be wrong. I have to check on that. But, look, you could say that the Mets aren't that good because it's a weak schedule. Well, look, at the end of the day, I don't care. I want the team to make the playoffs. And when the playoffs happen, anything happens, So I think it's key for the Mets to continue to beat the Braves. The fact that they beat the Braves and the Marlins with this, makeshift team, whatever, is impressive. And it's what they need to do. But it's not sustainable. And, you mentioned the big hit. And in the Arizona series, they were getting that. For the past few series, they were getting the Atlanta series. They got that. 13 runs, 14?
Yeah, 13-2.
Against Atlanta a week ago. But, but in the San Diego series, it has not been the big hit so far, which has been very frustrating. And what that really gets to is this team is a lot of fun and it's very likable and it's cool to see these guys. It's almost like Moneyball in a way, like these guys that come out of nowhere. But, it just shows that you need the regulars back.
Yeah, I don't think that this team is like you can't go into the playoffs with Brennan Jury as your sixth hitter, or like when Cameron Maybin was batting third for this team. Like, yeah, obviously that can't happen. And I think the Mets, I think they're waiting for see how these injuries play out and how long they're gonna have to do it for, because like obviously Syndergaard, he had the setback, but like if Conforto had a setback, and I know they're not even due back to late June, July, anyways. But if they had a setback or someone else had a setback, then you have to look at outside the organization. Who can you bring in that can actually give you professional at bats? Because as much as like I don't expect a lot from the Mason Williams, the Brendan McKinney, like whoever it is, the Billy McKinneys, of the world, at a certain point you need these hits from the 6, 7, 8 guys, at least something. And especially when Lindor and McCann aren't, they're only, I mean, I'm happy that they're starting to get hot and they're not hitting on the interstate anymore, but you got to hit better than 200. And especially like I think last night or Friday night was the perfect sum up. You get Lindor on third because of the errors, the base hit and the errors, and then you have McCann and Alonso up to just driving a runner from third, and they can't do it. And look, Blake Snell's a great pitcher, and and no outs, exactly. And those guys have to come through, and if they're not against the big pitchers, the Snells, the Darvishes, or whoever the Padres are throwing, because they're obviously a great team, that's where this team's going to find their issues. Because as good as this rotation is, you can't ask them every day to throw shutouts and 7 innings, 1 run. But I think by the time they have to make runs in August, September, even I think end of July, you're hoping that Conforto's back. You're hoping that JD Davis, like whoever's back. I think this team needs, or Nimmo as well. Like, and they need those professional hitters, those professional at bats that they're just not getting right now from the bottom of the lineup. And again, I think that'll happen. And if these guys, let's say one of the two of the guys don't come back, you have to look at the trade market and see who you can, bring in here. And I definitely think they will. It's just kind of the matter of time, that happens, and kind of how these injuries play out.
It's weird because like, even though the team isn't like for example, like a guy like Billy McKinney, even though he's batting 210, like, I don't know, it's to see the guys that are no name succeed, you get really attached to them. So when the regulars come back and they get like DFA at a release, to kind of like, you feel bad for them. They're like, oh, I wish I could stay with the team some more. But also you bring up the idea of a trade. Like, my biggest concern with that is the Mets for so long getting rid of prospects, and it's just like,
gotta be smart about it.
I know Jared Kelenic has been terrible, which has been nice, but like, I would like Chris Bryant on this team, sure, but also I don't want to give up Brett Beatty to get him. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I don't know if they're going to bring in like a star. I don't think this team really needs they really need Lindor to be their star, and he needs to hit better. And like, they give him the money to, hopefully he eventually, starts really carrying the team, and he's going to eventually, I think, have to, especially if the injuries stay, but just guys that like just give you professional at bats. And like, I think this team, especially the way they're pitching, I think the bullpen's better now. And I think the defense is also better now, which I think is very, very important. And like, but even, with this pitching staff, you get some quality outings out of like Lucchesi on Friday night. Like, you didn't really expect to be in that game. At the end of the day, you have Lucchesi against Snell with, your 6, 7, 8 in your lineup. And you could add the pitcher in there too. We're basically automatic outs are very close to that. And you're in that game until the end. That's, I think really, impressive. And that's big for Lucchesi. If he's pitching well, that gives you, I think, an extra dimension. In the last 2 outings, he has pitched well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what this rotation can do. Carrasco's another guy. If he comes back, I think that would be big. And then David Peterson right now struggling. Maybe you were talking about the guys going, hitting, they're like 70, 71. Maybe he needs to go back to 72, his old number from last year.
He should. I mean, literally, David Peterson, I put it up on my Twitter. I made a little meme. I'm big into making some Mets memes on my Twitter page. Check it out. I think my handle should be on this screen somewhere. But I made a meme. It was like Freddy from Scooby-Doo unmasking someone. And it was like David Peterson unmasked. He's just Steven Matz. And that's really what he is. Yeah. Like
a bigger version.
A lefty who like can't make it out of the first inning. Literally, all right, David Peterson has a 5.89 ERA, which is not good. It should be like 20, but somehow it's not. He's had a couple good starts, I guess. Was only pitched past 7 innings once, which, by the way, was against the Rays. And when he made it to the 7th or made it to the 8th, he imploded. So that was great. He's only pitched 6 innings 3 times. He always seems to struggle in the first inning, even when he like pitches longer. The first inning is always like, it seems to me, and I wouldn't really say it's the yips, because it's not like Rick Ankiel where he's throwing it into like the 5th row, but like, it just seems like that he gets in his own head sometimes. It's like I feel bad for him, but like, it's just like, you have compassion for the guy. You want to see him do well, but also like, I want my team to win. And the simple fact is like, you already like, let's be honest. I trust DeGrom, obviously. Taiwan Walker has pretty much earned my trust, and I trust Stroman.
Yeah.
That leaves you 4 and 5. And with Syndergaard maybe not even pitching this year, if he does this August, Carrasco, another guy that's just gone missing. Jed Lowry must tell these guys where to hide. I don't know. Is there like a secret hiding spot in the Mets organization? I don't know. Carlos Carrasco, he's gone somewhere. So, it's Peterson with Lucchesi, they're stretching him out a bit, but like when he pitches, you're getting 4 or 5 and it's a bullpen day. So you cannot afford to have, and the Mets already saw it with the Diamondbacks and Padres series where their bullpen was spent and they couldn't do what they really wanted to. And like, you cannot have Peterson going out there and pitching like 1, 2, 3 innings. Like when you already have Lucchesi, you can't go that long. That is just going to kill your team down the stretch. You cannot. I mean, the fact that they got him a 4-0 lead in against Arizona and he blew it. I mean, that's just infuriating.
Home runs and walks. I mean, that's Steven Matt. You're talking about Steven Matt.
Steven Matt.
The stuff is not, he's basically a stock lefty. You're hoping that, he can give you, I mean, he still was like 93 to 95, which is good. But I think, the home runs, the walks are obviously the issue. This team never wins, like blows out teams. Like they had the 13-2 blowout, but it's always 1-2 run games. And that at a certain point gets your bullpen, definitely it puts stress onto it. And they've responded so far, but I think at a certain point, it's like kind of, you're going to have to start hitting, maybe pitching a little better, or like when you're hitting well, you kind of got to shut the door. So I think that's definitely important.
Yeah. I mean, the bullpen, like you said, has been a surprise, but I'm worried, like, if they continue to get overtaxed like this, how much longer, is this going to just blow up in our faces? I
think Lugo back is huge because he can pitch multiple innings, hopefully save guys. I know he hasn't really pitched so much. I don't know why that's the case, but maybe they're just trying to ease him back into it. That's really the only thing I can think of. But if he's going 2 innings every other day or once every 2 days, once every 3 days, that's huge, I think, for this pen because if your starter goes 6, let's say Stroman goes 6 or Stroman goes 7, you bring in Lugo and then you don't have to use anybody else really. That's huge, to save guys like Castro and May. And I think that's a big weapon. I mean, hopefully, they can start using them like that again. And I think that'll do dividends, I think, for this team to, hopefully give guys like Castro or Loop, who I think pitch basically every night, some rest.
Oh my God.